Hi, I thought I would answer a few questions that that I've seen on Reddit here and there about, in the blind subreddit. So I thought I would answer them here, and it'd be kind of like a fun and informative kind of video. So the first question that I seen on Reddit was, how do you know when you get your period? And I know Molly touched on this already in her video, but she also explained that she can't take birth control because of a separate issue not related to her eyesight. And I also thought that, well, since I can take birth control and all this other stuff, that maybe I'll explain it from my perspective, since that's something I can take. If you're new around here, hey, I'm glad you found my channel amongst the billion other channels out there. Hey, click subscribe and the little bell. I also have Twitter and Instagram, but I'm still having a hard time trying to get into Instagram through my phone for some reason. It keeps sending me in circles. I don't know. I have to get that fixed at some point, but the Apple Store is like so far, and well, I don't really have time. Anyways, the first question that I had seen on Reddit was, how do you know when you get your period? Which is TMI, but that's just something women have to deal with, so I don't see why that's so TMI. It's just like, it's a bodily function. It's the same thing when you go to the bathroom because you have to pee. Like, half the population has their period. Anyway, that's why I don't really understand why people are like, that's TMI, that's too much information. And just like, yeah, but if you're a woman too, like, you understand that that's just something that happens. So, because I'm legally blind, I'm not completely blind, I'm legally blind. I have 10% of my vision in comparison to someone who has their full eyesight. So when I get my period, I could take 2 different birth controls. Throughout the years, I switched from the Depo-Provera, the needle, the one that you could get in your arm every 3 months. I know some people don't like that because it stops your period, and then it just freaks some people out because they're not getting flushed out or cleaned or something like that, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it makes sense to them. So maybe that's not something everyone wants to take. I enjoy not getting my period. I know. It's just something I don't have to worry about. But throughout the years, I switched from Depo, the one I just explained, and then I would switch to the pill. And if anyone watching this has taken the pill, knows that it either comes in you get rows of either 3 weeks or a full month, which is 4 weeks. I take something called tricycline, so you get a full pack, like a full month worth of pills. So how I can tell when I get my period when I take the tricycline is I will switch to wearing I guess a heavy duty panty liner for the first, when I start my placebos, like that last week of the pack. I will start wearing a panty liner, and then when I start spotting, that's when I will switch to a pad. Again, because I am legally blind and I can see a fair bit, and I can't see the contrast between the stark white pad or panty liner and spotting, well, blood red. there's a contrast for me. So I don't have to ask someone else to see if they could see like spotting or if there's blood on the toilet paper or anything like that. I could handle that myself because, again, I could see a little bit. And if you take the Depo shot, then you just have to keep up with your appointments every 3 months. That's it. I don't know how it is if you don't take birth control, but I'm assuming you get the same thing that everyone else does when you get your period: bloating, cramps, irritability. Some people get cravings for sugar or like fatty foods. I get craving for so much sugar when my period's coming up. Even when my period is coming up, I still get those cravings even though I'm on birth control pills. So that's the first question I've ever seen on Reddit about asking blind people. There was another question that was, how does it feel when you drink, or if you have ever gotten high? And if you had seen my other videos or like my story time videos, then you'll know that when I had to go to the ER for my eye problems, I accidentally got high from taking T3s. The short answer is, it is getting high. It's not fun. When you're blind, it is just not fun. At least it wasn't for me. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, it was not fun. It was not fun at all. When I was high that one time, it felt like I was in my own head and only in my own head. And time just dragged on. It dragged on for the longest time. 10 seconds felt like half an hour. I'm not kidding. Time just dragged on and I was stuck in my own head with my own thoughts just constantly going around in a circle and around and around. And well, that's how it feels getting high. But when you get drunk or have a few drinks, that's when drinking is a little more fun than getting high. That was a terrible experience. 10 out of 10 would not recommend, would never recommend it. So when you drink, for me, everything gets a little wobbly. You get a little off balanced. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm kind of hyper aware of what everyone around me is saying. I'm a little hyper aware of everything. And then, well, because you're drinking, I become a little more loose-lipped than normal. And if you know me in person, I'm kind of already I'm sensitive but also blunt. Like if it's something I truly believe in, then I'm just going to say it and not just pussyfoot around it. So when I drink, I just start saying whatever comes into my head. I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that are like that. When you start drinking, you just start saying shit. Whatever pops in your head. It could be the most profound or the very most stupid thing ever. And it is a little more fun. And it's even more fun when you're just like at home with some friends drinking. That's when it's even more fun. I don't know about going out to like clubs or bars or anything like that. That makes me uncomfortable because even though I know I'm legally blind and I can see a fair amount, I know that I'm still a vulnerable person and there's still perverts and creeps around, and that's why I don't drink or go out. That's why I don't go out drinking and things like that, because everyone's inhibited and there are just creepy people, dangerous people all around, and I'm trying to keep myself safe, you know, so The third question was, well, I seen Matt's video that was, what do you fear about being blind? And one of the questions I asked my family, like, if you didn't know a blind person, what would you want to know? And it was, what would scare you, or what scares you about being blind? And Matt from Blind to Billionaire, hi Matt, that he made a video about fear, and then that got me thinking. And with the question my family asked is, what scares you about being blind? How do I say this? I know I can handle myself, and I know I can handle things, or what certain people would call tragic, that I know for sure I can get through. So not a lot scares me. Like, I didn't have the best childhood, and I grew up in a rough place. So when I say not a lot scares me, I mean not a lot scares me. It has to be really, really scary for something to scare me. So when I started losing my eyesight, it was heartbreaking, but I was in that survival mode. There we go. I was in survival mode, that I need to adapt, and I need to adapt really fast. And it wasn't going blind that scared me. It wasn't even losing friends that scared me. It was genuinely not being able to help someone else because of of being legally blind and being vulnerable because of it, and that I couldn't help another person. That is genuinely what scares me. Like, when I was losing my eyesight in the first year, and it was at the point where I was seeing where I could only see light and shadow. That was it. I couldn't see the difference between colors like I can now. I could see a fair amount, and I'm so grateful for it. But at the time that I could only see lights and shadows, I had woken up from a nap, and then I went to go sit in the living room. And when I was just sitting there trying to wake up feeling groggy, I wasn't listening to anything, I wasn't watching TV, nothing. I was just sitting there, and I could hear crying and slapping. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, someone left their damn TV on, and it's too loud, and they're watching this horrible movie of like domestic abuse or someone getting the crap kicked out of them. And the more I sat there, the more I realized that's not TV. No one's watching anything. It's not stopping. And I got up and I went to my apartment door, and I was listening to see where it came from, and it was coming from the apartment down the hall. That's how loud they were. I also have really good hearing, and I could just hear constant slapping, and this guy yelling at, I guess, his partner or his girlfriend, and I could hear her crying, and just constant slapping. And I'm not gonna even lie, I almost had this nervous breakdown, because if you best believe that if I had my full eyesight, I would have went over there and like started slamming on the door. Why don't you fight someone who's not fucking scared of you? That kind of thing. But I was legally blind, And when I stood at the door, that hit me really hard. Just how vulnerable I am and that I couldn't help another person. I couldn't help that woman who was getting the crap kicked out of her in the next apartment. And I'm not even joking, when I started crying, and I sat in the chair in the living room and just kind of like shaking in the realization of that I'm genuinely vulnerable hit really hard. And my mom phoned me. I don't know if she felt that I was scared or what, but she phoned me because she lived in the same apartment building, just in a floor below. She's like, why don't you come over for some tea and we'll like have cake or something. And as I said to my mom that this woman, like, I can't go there because like I don't know if that guy is going to come out of his apartment or what. Then my dad was like, what are you talking about? And I told him what was happening down the hall, and my dad came up to my apartment and then took me back downstairs to their apartment. And I was like trying not to cry because like I was shaking, that I was so, not only did that hit, but I was also angry that I couldn't help. I just couldn't go over there and like not solve the problem, but like get in his face and tell him to back the fuck off. And I just, I guess we were in my mom and dad's apartment. When I went back upstairs about 2 hours later, about an hour, 2 hours after we had tea and I was visiting, when I went back upstairs with my dad, like my dad brought me back up to my apartment because of what was going on down the hall, that we heard this police officer in their apartment building, and this woman police officer talking to that other woman who was in the apartment. And my dad was like, see, like someone else must have heard and phoned the police. And that's general, like, honestly, that's what scares me, is not being able to help another person. Because I know I can get through stuff, but there's always someone else who needs help. Do you know what I mean? Do you know, do you get what I mean? Like, I can handle myself and I could, like, I know what to do, but there's always someone else who needs help. So that's what scares me. It's not being abandoned. It's not having friends. It's not losing my eyesight. It's not being able to help someone else. And on a lighter note, there was another question that was, sorry, there's no transition for that. There's no transition for that answer of what scares you. So the fourth question was, how do you cook? Because I could see really well and I know where everything is in my kitchen. Cooking is relatively easy. The only time that I have a real problem is if I'm cooking hamburger in a dark pan. Because then you have dark meat on a dark pan, and then because I have no depth perception and I could only how do you say that? Differentiate? I could only see the difference between certain colors, if there's a really big contrast, like if there's black and a really deep blue, then I could see a tiny contrast between the two colors, but that's only if I concentrate on it for a long time. But when you're cooking, you don't really have that. It's either you know the difference or it gets burnt, you know. So when I'm cooking meat, like taco meat, I'll only I cooked it when I'm cooking taco meat, I'll time it because I did go to school for culinary, so I know how long meats should take in the oven and on the stovetop with certain temperatures. So I just have to basically time it. That's how I cook meat, is if I time it or I put it in the oven and then you just time it there. It's really that easy. And the only thing I'm wary about when I'm cooking with raw meat is sanitation. Everything needs to be cleaned and sanitized, otherwise that's how you get food poisoning. And cutting vegetables is also fine because I could see relatively well. I do have contacts and glasses that increase my vision, so I could see pretty well, and I live in kind of like this 2D world. I still have no depth perception, so I need to be careful with that. But the difference between colors and stuff for me is really good. So when I have a white or brown cutting board and then I have this bright bell pepper, it's easy to cut. Like, it's easy. It also helps that I went to culinary school to be a chef, and so I don't have a lot of problems. I've never cut myself with a knife. Not when I had my sight, not even now. I haven't had a problem. I've even deep fried food. So because I have like limited eyesight, and then I have that knowledge of cooking, deep frying food, and then making meat and making everything else is relatively easy for me. I know not a lot of people have that background of going to school for culinary, and it's going to be different for everyone, but I'm legally blind and I do have those skills. So for me, it's pretty easy. And the last question was, how do you clean? So again, I'm legally blind. I have a good amount of my eyesight. When I clean things, you could feel when something's greasy. You could also feel when something is stuck on a plate or like on pots and pans. It also helps if you have a scoring pan. What's that? A scoring pad, like one of the rough textured green pads to use on pots and pans, and also your plates. When I wear when I'm at home, I wear my glasses. And if I'm going to be doing more, more detailed work, I will put in my contacts, which gives me even more of a sharp sight than my glasses. Which, if you followed my other videos, I figured out why my eyes kept going red while I was wearing my contacts is because I wasn't taking, I have to take fish oil pills to lubricate my eye and keep them moist while I wear my contacts. That's why they were drying out and so irritated. I need to take fish oil pills. So anyways, that's why I wear my contacts, so I could see better. So when I'm cleaning, I could see if there's a small pile of dust or if I forgot an area. And sweeping and mopping is also really easy. It's quote my job to clean the bathtub, because like if I miss a small area, it's not the end of the world, but it's my partner's job to clean the toilet, and he cleans the sink. So we do split our chores evenly. He'll do certain things that require more eyesight, while I will do things that don't necessarily require more eyesight. Like again, the tub and the tiled walls. Like I just need to basically just work at one wall and then go to the other and then the other wall, and then work in sections on the tub and then rinse the whole area. And then when it comes, sorry, I think I skipped halfway through my explanation to start talking about the bathroom from pots and pans. Sorry. But yeah, all you really need is to feel when something's still greasy or if there's still some caked on residue from food. You just scrub that off and then rinse really well, and change the water when you go through maybe a load of dishes. That's pretty easy. We also, me and my partner also do the dishes together on a regular basis, not all the time, but maybe once or twice a week we'll do the dishes together. And if he catches something, then he'll tell me that there's still some food on here. Yeah, if there's like some food left on maybe a container that has a lot of crevices. And my partner is the one who also takes out the trash, so he's the one who does that. Okay, so if you made it, that's how my cleaning goes. And we also you know, when we bring stuff into another room, we also take it back into the kitchen, so there's not so much trash or anything. And I think my next video is going to be like a hair and makeup tutorial for legally blind women, people, anyone who is curious about any of it. I know Molly also did that, and it's just I guess a fun thing to do, but I also want to get a haircut before I do the hair tutorial because, well, as my sighted people can see, my bangs no longer look like bangs, and it just looks like a layer of hair. So I really want to get my hair cut next week, early next week, so I could record that video. I'm sorry for the inconsistent uploads during the summer, but honestly, the days where it was cool were far and few in between. It was recording, putting on makeup, doing my hair. It just wasn't going to happen because again, my apartment does not have AC, and even with my little fan in the window is still just so hot. I feel like there should be a law where every apartment must have an AC. It must be included in the rent. So hopefully I'll have that video up. It might be a two-parter. I'm still deciding on it. Hair and makeup tutorial. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and a like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.